at the Seattle Antiquarian Book Fair. My name's Taylor Bowie, and I'm sitting here with Nat DesMarais, bookseller. Hasn't been in the ABAA all that long, but has already had a very interesting and varied career in the trade, and I'm sure has a lot of interesting things to tell us. So Nat, welcome, and thank you for joining me here for a little chat.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
So I was an associate member for 12 years.
Ah, okay. That's clarification on that. So you just recently moved up to full status now that you're on your own. Well, let's start out a little bit about your background. Where were you born? Born and raised?
Sure. Born in Boston, Massachusetts. My dad was teaching at Harvard at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I moved out to Santa Monica when I was 1 year old. And my dad got a job at UCLA.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He taught music theory and composition. He was a composer his whole life. He died about 6 months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gee.
Sorry, he died well. He did a
Yeah,
good job.
that's good.
I was proud of him.
What was his name?
Paul DesMarais.
Paul DesMarais.
Actually, I have in my car a letter from Aaron Copland to him, and I saw somebody here selling Aaron Copland stuff, so maybe I'll flog that letter to him.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice to know. So you were raised in Santa Monica then?
I was.
Yeah. You never struck me as an Easterner.
Well, you know, it kind of gripes me that I wasn't born in Santa Monica. All my brothers and sisters were, but I was born in Boston, and I'm like quintessential California, but born in Boston.
My friend John Lang, who's such a Northwesterner, he was born in Los Angeles, and that sort of embarrasses him.
Right.
He thinks he should have been born in Oregon or Washington.
So what it is.
So that's your dad. What about the rest of your family? Siblings?
Oh, yeah, I have 3 sisters and a brother. One of my sisters died about 10 years ago. Another sister's an Episcopalian priest. Another sister's a gardener. And my brother works at the Vacaville State Mental Hospital.
Interesting. I've been to Vacaville, not
as an inmate, I hope.
No, but I have been to Vacaville.
And he moved out from Chicago to take that job. And I guess he counsels serial killers and the like. I guess somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Well, good for your brother.
Yeah.
Gee.
He's a big burly guy, which helps.
That would tend to help in a job like that. Well, you went to college, I assume?
Yes, I went to a bunch of colleges, actually.
Tell us about that.
I went to, I got to, LA was it was in the late 60s, early 70s, so my folks wanted me out of Los Angeles. So they sent me to Quaker High School up in Northern California, and that was very helpful to me. So
where was that?
In Grass Valley.
Oh, sure.
A school called John Woolman. It's defunct now, but it was a great place. So then I got out of there, I went to UCLA. John Woolman only had 50 kids, and UCLA had 50,000, so that was a little much for me. Then I went to UC Santa Barbara, and you can't do any work at Santa Barbara. It's ridiculous.
It's something about it.
Yeah. So then I got transferred up to Reed, but they canceled my department, so then I transferred over to Lewis and Clark.
Now, what department was that?
Comparative religion.
And they canceled it. I mean, they just disbanded the department.
Yeah.
That wasn't up to their
they called
hippie standards.
They called and said, we don't really have a department for you anymore. You might try Lewis and Clark, they still have one. I'm kind of glad, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Reed's interesting, but I'm kind of glad I went to Lewis and Clark.
Lewis and Clark.
And then I graduated from there, and then, my dad was a college professor, so I knew that was a nice life.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd do that. So I went to graduate school at UC Berkeley in comparative religion. And soon realized that I can't speak in public, so I dumped all that. So I have somebody said there's an acronym for that. Everything but dissertation, or all but dissertation. So I got ABD out of UC Berkeley.
That was my dad getting his doctorate in psychology. Everything right up to it, but didn't do the last piece of work.
I started my dissertation.
Well. So when you left school, then what happened? What were you doing then?
That was in, That was in 82. Terrible unemployment. So I lived at my friend's house, I lived at my dad's house, I lived kind of all over the place and kept trying to get various jobs and nothing seemed to work. So then I saw a little thing. In college also I majored in Asian history because I'm kind of a Japanophile. Well, I used to be anyway. And
get into that.
And I saw a little article that said Earn and Learn in Japan. so I moved to Japan.
And what year would that have been? About 83?
83.
What did you do there?
I did all kinds of things, actually. I did voice work, and mainly I had a job with a company where I edited copy. We did it for Japan Airlines and Honda, fixing English mainly.
What do you mean by voice work? Like voiceover?
I did a lot of readings for people studying English, things like that. It was kind of a good gig.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I got married there, and my daughter was born there. It's kind of a fascinating. I'm no longer a Japanophile.
You saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
And so, when did you come back to the United States?
87. So I was there 4 years, I guess. 87 with my daughter and my wife in tow. Because I'd always wanted to be my grandfather was kind of a well-known art dealer in New York City, Durlacher Brothers, and he had a beautiful library. I saw when I was 12 years old. I thought, man, if I could somehow make money at that would be great.
Yeah.
So then, in '87, my dad knew Bob Vosper, who was head of UCLA Library, and he wrote a letter to me to various rare book dealers all over the state of California. Because I was going to settle down in Japan.
Yeah.
I figured, I'm 28, 29 years old. I've got a kid and a wife. But I thought, well, I'm going to give one last hurrah to try this thing out. So he wrote me a bunch of letters, and I came over and I interviewed like Jerry Stanoff and anyway, went to a bunch of interviews. And at that time, Dawson's Steve Tabor was just leaving Dawson.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And I said, I'll work for minimum wage if you just teach me all you know about the business. And they took me up on it. So
that would have been
87.
87.
Or late 86 or 87. I can't remember. Somewhere around.
Now, who, of course, Dawson's one of the oldest antiquarian book firms in the country, although they essentially don't exist anymore. Founded in 1905,
right.
Always stayed in the same family. When you came to work there in 87, who else was working there?
Michael Dawson had come a month before I got.
I see.
So it was kind of me and Michael. He was wanting to develop the photography part, and Muir and Glenn took me under their wings. And Glenn taught me all about Western Americana, and Muir taught me all about fine printing, California printing.
Right.
But they kept me at minimum wage for a couple of years. Had me doing catalogs and running errands and packing and doing everything else possible. So I was very, very fortunate to walk in there at that time.
Right.
I was a collector when I was a kid, but it's, as you know, pretty unusual to get that kind of position.
Was Agnes coming in regularly?
Oh, Agnes was coming in every day.
Yeah, every day. That's how I remember the store.
For the first few years, Glenn was there every day. But then after about 1990, he started coming in only 2-3 times a week.
Oh, I didn't realize that. The times I would visit, he always seemed to be there. Of course, Muir was always there.
Muir was always there.
Muir and Agnes were very gracious hosts.
Right. Yeah.
I always...
Agnes must have liked you then.
Well, they always made me feel very well.
They were very sweet.
It was just terrific.
Yeah.
Dawson's had a long history of publications of all sorts, and some of my favorites they did are those little books kind of about early days of Los Angeles. The one about Bunker Hill.
Oh, sure.
Were those before or after before your time?
No, they were doing the last one there, I think. Those were called the Los Angeles Miscellanies.
Yes.
And Arnold Highland did a couple of photography books.
Oh, boy.
I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Well, I have my own copies, and I treasure them very much.
Right, those were a nice series. They did a bunch of series.
Yeah, well,
early California Travel series, Baja California Travel series.
Being a Los Angeles aficionado, those are the ones I like.
Yeah, they were nice.
Just terrific. So your duties over a period of time kind of got a little more
varied. Right. It was pretty much me on the books. Me and Muir.
Okay.
Because Glenn wasn't coming in so much. Michael was mainly concerned with photography, though he did a lot with books too.
Right.
But I was buying within the third year, and then Glenn stopped coming in entirely.
Oh, it's funny. I don't remember that. I have the recollection I used to see him all the time. But how long did you stay at Dawson's?
Until 2000.
That's 13 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a long time.
And in 2000, you left and for on your own reason, and
Well,
just a mutual.
kind of a mutual. I mean, Michael wanted to get more into photographs, and really there wasn't much of a book budget, and it was right after the internet started up, and that kind of quashed all your medium grade books, which you couldn't sell any longer.
And Michael essentially taken over from Muir at that point.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I remember that started the change.
Right. Well, he was in. He majored in photography. That was his deal.
Yeah.
So, and there was not much money to buy books and to go buy libraries, and you had to, after 1992 or so, you had to get rid of lots and lots of books because no sense in being deep in anything.
Right. No sense in being the 100th person to have a copy
Right.
or something like that. Well, when you left Dawson's, then what did you do? Did you go directly to Heritage?
No, it was about 4 months.
Oh, okay.
For 2 months I didn't do anything, and then
Need a little break.
2 months I started looking, and then I was getting a little discouraged, and then an old customer of mine says, well, why don't you just ask Ben for a job? Oh, that's a good idea. So I called Ben, and Ben said, sure, come on over.
Ben, who I've been trying to figure out recently how old Ben Weinstein is. He must be.
He's about 76.
He's getting towards the old late 70s. Man of boundless enthusiasm.
He's unbelievable.
He really is.
I mean, 76.
Yeah, you talk to him and it's like he's just started. He's all so bubbly about it all.
Yeah.
Well, Ben and Lou had one of the most beautiful antiquarian bookstores anywhere, Heritage Books on Melrose Avenue in an old mortuary.
It was an old Catholic mortuary.
Yeah, which they had converted into a very spectacular antiquarian bookstore. So you went to work there. That would have been 2001 or
In 2000.
in late 2000. Okay. And who else was working there at the time that you were working with?
Who else was working? David Brass was there, of course.
Uh-huh.
He was the chief honcho. Nancy Rupert was the main cataloger.
Mm-hmm.
James Gannon.
Yeah.
Ben's daughter, Rachel.
Rachel, who had the children's books, was kind of her department, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chad Reingold,
Chad.
who did the Modern Verse. I haven't seen him in a couple of years.
I'm actually Facebook friends with him.
Yeah, I am too, but he doesn't seem to talk that much. So that was about it.
Was
that
it
time.
Lee Biondi working there?
Lee had just left.
He had just left, okay.
Which is probably why they needed somebody.
Needed somebody new, yeah.
And that was also a very fortunate experience. I mean, they liked me because I was a quick cataloger and accurate.
So that was your function there.
And also one of their best sales people too.
Yeah, I should add for those who don't know that the Heritage modus, or whatever you want to call it, was very sales oriented. Everyone I always gathered was expected to be a good salesperson.
Correct.
And they were, as the most part.
Yeah, they were good salespeople.
And I remember would laugh because I couldn't be in there 30 seconds and Mr. Gannon was trying to sell me something.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't matter what it was, he wanted to sell me something.
James was good at it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a good cataloger too. A few of them weren't so stellar on their cataloging.
Everybody had their role.
Right.
How long did you stay there?
How long did I stay there? What year is it now? I guess I stayed there for 2000, the end of 2007.
Uh-huh.
At which time all of Heritage broke up. Of
Right.
course. And they sent off their books to Bloomsbury and did various deals and closed down the shop. So we all went our ways.
Everybody went their separate ways.
Right.
I've heard this more than once about the book trade, that the best investment that certain booksellers ever made was the building that they had there.
Right.
And I've heard something to
Oh, they make a lot of money.
yeah on the mortuary. You ever drive by it anymore?
I did.
Yeah. What's in there now?
Well, they converted it to something. I used to look kind of L.A. with those weird rooms.
Very. It looked like that 30s weird L.A.
It was
amalgamation.
quintessential LA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Fabulous.
They butchered it and made it into kind of a Cape Cod looking thing, and they're selling like Laura Ashley furniture and stuff like that.
No.
I know, it was terrible.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. Well, I have certain things I won't even look at in Los Angeles. For years, I wouldn't drive by the site of the Ambassador after they tore it down. I just couldn't bring myself to look. Finally, I did.
It's a shame when those things go away.
Well, everybody left. Although, of course, our friend Ben has just recently reopened the shop. Forever youthful Ben Weinstein.
Sure. I plan on going to see him this month, actually.
Well, that's good. I give him my best. He's an incredible guy. So after that, then what did you do?
Well, for a goodly portion of the time there, their best customer was Michael Sharpe.
Mm-hmm.
So when
tell us a little bit about him.
He was an insurance executive. He worked for Prime America. Kind of a self-made guy. Grew up in Northern California, fifth generation Californian, but very enthusiastic collector. He just loved it. So as it was breaking up, I said, "Well, how about you and I start a business, just the two of us?" We thought that was a good idea, so we went in partners and bought this building in Pasadena, which I believe you were at.
Never went to it.
You never went to it? Oh, it was beautiful. It's a historic register building.
What describe the building? Tell us what it is like.
Oh, it was built by, you ever heard of the Green Hotel?
Of course.
Colonel Green, that was his private residence.
Oh.
So it was on the historic register.
Uh-huh.
It was very craftsman, a lot of wood inside and a lot of details. It was a beautiful building, actually. So we had it rehabbed and started filling it with books. And
what kind of books did Michael Sharpe collect?
He collected Printing in the Mind of Man and Western Americana, in particular Zamorano 80.
Did he then feed his own collection into the inventory, or
no? He before Heritage closed up, he had about 200 books or so that he wanted to sell, and Heritage tried to sell them. They sold a number of them.
Right.
So all we took from his collection were the 30 or 40 books that Heritage couldn't sell, which were in effect dead stock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like well exposed by that time.
Right.
So we just, I had a bunch of contacts, so we started buying as quick as we could, and we were doing okay, actually.
Was it just the two of you, or did you?
No. We had Kim Cummings from Heritage as our bookkeeper. We had J.P. Morgan as our tech guy from Heritage, and Mike Carabedian as my cataloger salesperson, also from Heritage. So there were four of us. Michael being a silent partner,
right.
He's gone on various business things most of the time. And we did okay. We did pretty well. We were selling some big items and putting out kind of nice full-color catalogs and parties and various things. But of course, the economic storm hit, and everything kind of faltered after that.
So when did that business dissolve?
In effect, it dissolved in 2009. So it only lasted a couple of years.
I see.
No, but those were a rough couple of years, 2008 and 2009. So after that, I took about 6 months to figure out what I decided was going to do. I was thinking about a whole change in careers and that kind of thing. Then I did this book fair, as a matter of fact, a couple of years ago. I thought, well, this is kind of what I do. So I decided to go ahead and go in it full time.
Of course, there was another big change in your life. You got married again.
I did. I got married again.
And as I recall you telling me, this is what brought you
to the Northwest.
To live back here in the lovely Great Green Northwest.
It's true. I married my college sweetheart. We lived together all through college. She went her way and I went mine. We both had children. And I decided, I wasn't looking to start a relationship with her. It's just, I'd always had fond memories of her. So I hadn't talked to her in 27 years. So I got in touch with her. It was hard to find her, actually. And I got in touch with her and I said, I just wanted to tell you, I'd always had fond memories of you. And from there, I'm married.
It's nice. And now, no longer working under the name of Michael Sharpe.
Oh, it's been a long time.
Yeah, but you work under your own. Now, tell us a little bit about the kind of things you sell.
I sell pretty much anything I like. I'm old enough now I can do that.
Yeah, I know that feeling too.
Yeah, but I've had a lot of training. I did in Heritage. I did a lot of Dickens, Printing in the Mind of Man, big, high-powered books, which were great fun to deal with. I mean, I once wrote an invoice for $1 million. I mean, there's not many people who can say that. I mean, that was pretty special. I made a photocopy of it.
I would think so.
It's in my file.
Oh my God!
So I decided.
I have to ask: was that for a private individual or an institution?
A private individual.
Oh boy.
But I've always, I mean, I like printing and I like type specimen books and I like what Muir taught me. I'm very fond of it. But I've always kind of been a Western guy. So
yeah.
I decided to head back into Western things.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, just things I like.
Yeah.
So,
what is your relationship, happy, sad, positive, negative, with the internet in your business?
well, I think all impact of the internet is a decade ago. We've all grown to learn to live with it.
Well, not everybody.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've talked to a lot of people who are still wishing
Right.
it was 1980.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen.
No, it is.
I find I've only been on my own a little while now, and I find, frankly, that I don't list anything online now.
Really?
And I seem to be doing okay because I have great mailing lists and great database.
So you have no website?
I have no internet presence.
Interesting.
And not through anything, a plan of mine.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not real anxious to get this whole thing rolling, actually. And really, my big coming out party is the big ABAA fair in February.
In February in Pasadena.
So I don't even have stationery yet. But I find I'm doing okay without it.
That's terrific.
But I will list, of course.
Well, there aren't too many people in the trade, frankly, that I know who have had such a wonderful grounding working for other people. I mean,
Right. It was very helpful.
great opportunities, but obviously they appreciated your abilities.
And they were all good people. I learned various things from all of them.
That was absolutely. This is a sort of a funny question that I don't ask everybody, but I think you may have already answered it. Can you think of one event, one sale, one purchase, something like that in your career that really stands out, both in a good sense or maybe one that you think, oh God, I hope that never happens again?
I don't want to tell you about that. I hope it never happens again.
Well, your $1 million invoice.
Well, that was a nice one, but I think even better actually was the first big thing we sold at Michael Sharpe Rare and Antiquarian Books. We bought a Sumerian clay tablet, which is no great shakes in itself. I mean, we had a bunch of them at Dawson's. Right. But this was a big one, and it was about Gilgamesh. And so we sold it for $450,000 to a museum in Israel, as a matter of fact. But we had to decide to send Mike Garabedian to hand deliver it in London because it's a clay tablet. You don't want to stick it in the mail.
I just put it in a box.
You just stick it in a box. But that was kind of a gratifying.
Well, yeah, something that.
I mean, that's important.
Yeah, to sell something like that is a lot more exciting. Well, I sold a perfect copy of Grapes of Wrath.
Right.
Well, yeah, you and
everybody
else.
Other
people.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's extraordinary.
That was a sweet thing.
Wow, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
That was just great. So you won't share any bad story like something that happened that you just think, oh.
No.
Okay.
A couple of them are just too rancid to share.
Too rancid to share. How about you're really the first person I've spoken with who has no internet presence. It's very interesting to me. How about book fairs? How do you see them having an impact on your business?
Well, book fairs are. I consider them like a shot of B12. You got to have them every once in a while to pick up your stock
and meet people.
And meet people.
Now, it's interesting, you early in the interview you said something about how you're not comfortable with public speaking, and yet, I've watched you, and you're extremely good one-on-one with people.
I do great one-on-one.
Yeah, but you just don't want to stand up.
No, I'm terrible at that.
Okay.
When I was in Japan, because there weren't many foreigners who could speak Japanese at that time, they offered me to be on this TV show, just a panel, right? And then they veered the camera on me. I just froze entirely. I was terrible.
Oh my God, that is funny.
But I think Lee Biondi doesn't have an internet presence.
Really? Well, it's been sort of hard to find a lot of people. I hope he's doing it.
He works in subterranean methods.
Yeah, very interesting. Right. Who were besides the people you worked for and with, who were some of the other people in the trade that you might have gotten some inspiration from or kind of admired? Somebody that...
Well, I think everybody in the trade who does Americana admires Bill Rees. He's kind of the preeminent bookseller of our time as far as scholarship and acquisitions and things like that. I don't know. I get inspiration from not necessarily big people. You know, I get inspiration from various people. It really comes to mind offhand. Ken Carmichael was always very kind to me.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
He's been an inspiration to many. I believe I've known him longer than any other member of the ABAA.
Is that right?
When he was working for Heritage and I was working for David Ishii when he first came up to Seattle. That was 72. That's a long time. But,
That's true.
do you ever anticipate opening a retail space?
No.
Okay. You think that general model is... I mean, can you see any advantage to it? That maybe just not enough advantage to...
Well, if you had Heritage worked because they had a perfect location, they had perfect parking, and kind of the perfect stock for that location. It was a Beverly Hills shop, even though it wasn't in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it was.
All the stars went there, all the big money people, Milliken, all these people went there. If I would consider opening a shop, in 20 years from now, if I got too infirm to move boxes around. But it's rough opening.
Yeah.
If I needed them, I don't know if you could ever make it pay off, frankly, unless you had a really targeted audience.
How do you acquire inventory these days?
Oh, I've got a bunch of contacts.
Good.
And of course, I've been doing it so long that people they're on the flip side of it now. They want to sell.
Yeah, I know that was initially was disturbing for me when the first time that customers of mine, crept along and they say, "Well, now I want to sell."
Right.
Oh my God!
And you worry because you know what you charge them, and they're going to want double that. And you're going to say, "Sorry, the book trade hasn't been that kind to me in the last 5 years." But
it's funny. I mean, most of the people that brought the books back to me, they were good books.
Right.
That I didn't have to apologize for.
No, happy to get them back. Swinging a deal.
The general books, the internet has spoiled that for everyone.
Absolutely, and I find that I'm having to take a lot of things from old customers on consignment.
Yeah.
Because I just can't reach their prices.
No, you can't.
And you can buy so cheaply at auction now that why pay $150 for a $300 book?
No, there's no reason. No reason to.
Yeah.
Sometimes why even take it on consignment?
Right. Well, it adds some luster to that kind of thing.
And it makes the old customer feel
right.
Yeah.
We all love our old customers.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to get around Portland much and see the other bookshops since you moved there?
I've seen quite a few of them. Powell seems to have kind of a rap on Portland.
In general.
I know Roger Nilsson pretty well, and I know Cole well enough.
Recommend Ampersand.
And Ampersand.
You have
had dinner with him last
night.
night.
Oh, good. Yeah, Miles is a
nice guy.
We're going to get him in the ABA.
He should be in the ABA.
Definitely.
And he kind of has an open shop that would work.
Yeah. Oh,
because it's a very specific market he's trying to tap into.
And it's a good avenue for a young guy like that to get inventory.
Right.
The street presence.
And he's going in with visual material,
no question.
which of course is where the whole book trade is heading.
Yeah. And he's expanding his retail presence.
Right. He says he's knocking down some walls.
Very rare. Very rare. Yeah.
The day of selling books to readers is long past.
Yeah.
We're going to have to sell artifacts, antiques from now on.
This is, years ago I said that our shop motto was you can't judge a book by its contents.
Right.
And more that's true. We are selling visuals and artifacts.
Absolutely.
And because information is easy to get now.
Yeah. Remember, you used to be happy to get a University of Oklahoma press. I wouldn't give you $5.
I couldn't sell it for $5.
No, I know.
No, there was somebody at the Sacramento Fair selling for $5 each, and they weren't selling.
Yeah, that was Bob. Yeah.
We used to. Oh, look what I got!
A whole box full.
I bought a whole bunch from a publisher's rep one time, back in the 70s. Oh, we made a bundle. $25, $30, $40.
Oh, absolutely.
Out of print.
Yeah.
Oh, the old days.
It doesn't work much anymore.
No, it doesn't. No, you change with the times, or down the drain.
That's true.
Sounds like you learned that early on.
Yeah.
Any plans to retire?
No.
No way.
No.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear.
No.
I hate it. I wouldn't let you, in fact.
Well, what do you do?
Yeah.
Watch TV?
Yeah.
I already watch a couple hours a day. That's enough.
That is more than enough.
Yeah.
All right, Nat. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun.
It was
Thanks,
fun.
Thanks
All
for
right.
joining us.
Sure. Yeah.
Bye-bye.